The most caring can have an evil gaze, while the dangerous can have you in a euphoric haze. You're an absolute gem. Thank you for clicking on my video. I'm Brooke McKenna, but this is about the ice cream shop killer. Now this is such an intriguing name. It's a female killer, but it's so unknown. The information that I could find was so slim, but the ones that I did find was so crazy that I had to share this with you guys. So if it is a little bit shorter, I'm so sorry about that, but I needed to share it with you guys because when I was researching it, my mouth just kept falling open because I could not believe that this was a real case that actually happened. So yeah, make sure to thumbs up if you're excited about this story and subscribe if you would like to see more like it. Now let's get back to the story. So in 2011, maintenance workers and plumbers were working on a pipe that had broken in the basement of an ice cream shop called Slovakia. I probably am mispronouncing that, but here it is. It was in Vienna, Austria, and while working there, they found a horrific scene. There were body parts in small freezers and garden containers filled with cement, and there were air fresheners placed all around it, probably to hide the smell, but that is ultimately what is thought to have given it away. The workers immediately called the police, and when they went to look for the owner of the shop, she was gone. Her name was Estibaliz Carranza. She was 33 years old at the time, and she had traveled on the run 300 miles away to Udine, Italy. She took a cab and had to travel across the Alps to get there, but a few days after the body parts were found, she was found in Italy living with a street musician. She was instantly extradited back to Austria, and the body parts, well, at least some of them, were found to belong to a man named Holger Holts, her ex-husband. She claimed he was violent, lazy, and a bully who refused to move out after their divorce. So one night in 2008, while he was working on his computer, she walked up to him and placed a Beretta .22 caliber handgun to the back of his head and shot him 3 times. She said she never thought that she would actually be able to go through with it, but it was 3 p.m. and children were playing outside, and she also figured she would be caught. She was just waiting for the police to come, and then her phone rang. But it was only her ice cream shop saying that they needed her to come over. She said she tried many different ways to dispose of the body. She even tried setting it on fire because she thought it was going to turn to ashes, and when it didn't, she went and bought a chainsaw. She took him to the ice cream parlor and used the sounds of the ice cream making machines to hide the sounds of the chainsaw. And if anybody asked, she said she had gotten a new machine that made a lot more noise. Then she cut him into pieces before hiding him in the flower pots in the basement of the ice cream shop. She said for days after that she was cleaning up the mess, but she had more explaining to do than just that, because another person was identified within the body parts. He was a 48-year-old man named Manfred H, and he was an ice cream salesman who had gotten into a relationship with her after her divorce. 2 years into their relationship in 2010, Estibaliz decided she was sick of him. But in fact, she had confessed that when they actually got engaged a little earlier than that, she knew as soon as he put on the ring that it was a mistake. She said she felt like she was in a prison and there was a plastic bag over her head. She said he was drunk and abusive and was said to have been having an affair. She found nude photos on his phone as well as a dating app where the description of his perfect woman, who he wanted to be his perfect woman, was nothing like her. So she decided to go and take shooting lessons this time, as well as take a local hardware store's concrete mixing classes. Then after a drunken argument in November, Manfred turned to the wall and started snoring, and Estibaliz was so angry that she pulled out the gun that was under the mattress, she loaded it, and she shot him. The next morning she asked him to forgive her for what she had done, and then she took a chainsaw and she hacked his body up just as she had her ex-husband. And then she put them both in garden containers and freezers and filled it with concrete. And she also hung air fresheners all around to mask the stench. Right after that, she decided to go get herself a manicure because her nails were all messed up. By the time that the police caught her, she was actually 2 months pregnant by another man named Roland, and she obviously had no choice but to confess to the murders. And she did. very willingly. Like she was not afraid to tell them everything. In court, the prosecutor warned the courtroom that this was a woman with two faces who would try to make them believe she was well behaved and someone who would never do anything like this. He said his task was to show them her other side, that she was a singularly cold-blooded killer, and to not be fooled. And she came right into the courtroom claiming that she turned the men into monsters, but they turned her into a beast. The trial lasted 4 days with 50 witnesses and 7 experts due to testify. She was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison, but the court also ordered a psychiatric assessment as well. The results said she was mentally abnormal, and she was a woman who thought of herself as a princess and wanted to be rescued by a man, and who was not happy unless one was treating her as such. It was concluded that she had a personality disorder and that it was quite possible that she would kill again if she got out. The judge said that her confession as well as her psychological state was taken into consideration, but the fact that she had planned it and her behavior after the murders went against her and ultimately gave her that sentence. And Estibaliz actually agreed, saying, "I killed 2 men whom I once loved. There is no way of glossing this over. I robbed 2 mothers of their sons. I believed I had to serve men no matter how they behaved. I couldn't say no. I couldn't do it. I couldn't get free of him." And when the unanimous jury came back and said that they found her guilty, she didn't have anything really to say. She only nodded to confirm that she understood. Her case attracted immense attention over in Austria, and they even called her Austria's Amanda Knox. Now, the psychologists had said that she had a 1 in 3 chance of committing another murder if she was set free, and so the public definitely did not want that to happen. She was incarcerated in a women's prison in Lower Austria, and it's here. I know I'll butcher it, so I'm just going to put it up there. And then while in jail, she actually got married to her baby daddy in March of 2011. And, you know, for him, it's fine, because if she's going to be in jail her whole life, he doesn't have to worry about her murdering him. So, of course he can marry her, but still, why would you want to? But Estibaliz said that her new husband is totally different than the other 2 guys, that he is in no way macho and would never bring her into a situation like that. In January of 2012, she actually had her son, which the name has never been given out to the public, but she obviously couldn't keep him in jail, and so custody was given to her parents who live in Barcelona. And Estibaliz decided to study business while in jail and actually wrote a novel called My 2 Lives, The Story of the Ice Lady. It tells the story of her life. She was born in Mexico City in 1978 and then moved to Spain after her house was raided. She had a good childhood. She was a smart girl who graduated with honors, and then she went on to college and lived in Berlin, where she mastered German in 3 months. And then she went on to live in Vienna. And as she talks about her everyday life in prison, her affair with a fellow inmate, and her humiliation and betrayal that she felt from the men she killed, as well as a little insight into why she felt she needed to kill these men rather than just breaking up with them. In one part she said, "I should have just left them instead of shooting them. All people are murderers, but some have not started to kill, and most never do. It does not mean anyone is blameless. I was also unblemished that I killed 2 men. Who says someone who sits at the bus stop and reads the newspaper does not commit a murder tomorrow?" But at least that book is doing some good, because the proceeds do go to her son. She also talks about in it that she smears her face with honey and sugar, and she'll ask, "Am I still beautiful? Do I still have ice clear eyes, the face of porcelain? Am I still suitable for the front pages of magazines and newspapers?" I mean, she remembers every interview and report, and she knows that 8 years after the murder, she was still on the title page. She said this makes her proud and gives her strength, and that they should call her narcissistic and the ice cream lady, because it's a brand that makes her something other than a killer. And that should have been all that the media ever had to say about her. But in 2017, she came back into the news again, because it was said that Estibaliz was too dangerous to remain in just a woman's prison. Nobody really knows what exactly happened. The Austrian government actually decided to transfer her to an all-men's prison in Upper Austria. It was 50 miles away, and she would be the first female prisoner to live there. It currently holds 91 men and had on staff 45 nurses, 18 therapists, 4 doctors, and 8 prison guards. Prisoners there can cook their meals together in a single or a double cell that they live in, or they can go to the lounge and watch TV, and they're pretty much free to roam, but they are being watched 24/7. But one of the biggest standouts in her book was the fact that she talked about how much she desperately wanted children. She said that that was her main goal over a career, over anything, was to have children. And when her ex-husband married her and stopped having sexual relations with her shortly after marriage, that's when it got bad. That's also when they got divorced, and shortly after, he was murdered. Her second relationship also hadn't gotten her pregnant after 2 years, and he ended up murdered as well. It made some wonder if that wasn't her real motive all along. In an interview, she actually said, "My actions have destroyed my life and dreams. I have a son, and knowing how much he means to me has shown me how much I took away from the 2 other mothers. I only want one wish, and that would be to change what happened." But do you think that this was sincere, or just a ploy to get out, or to get sympathy, or more fame? I mean, I personally think she's a very smart girl who knows how to play with people's minds. But it does scare me to know that if the lack of the baby was her motive, and she killed because of that, what she would do to get her own baby. How many people she would kill if she would escape. And if so, maybe she talked, because she's a very persuasive person, maybe she talked them into letting her go to this men's prison. Maybe that was it all along. Maybe there wasn't an accident. Maybe she talked them into it. Possibly it's less strict, and so she can form an escape plan, and plus she gets to be around the very people that she can manipulate the best. Men. That way she can lure more men into the death trap that she is. It drives me crazy to not know what she did to get transferred, because what could be so horrible that she could be transferred to a men's prison? It almost seems to me like she was the one who did it all without the guards and the people in charge even knowing about it. Possibly she talked her way out of the women's prison to be with men again. But one of the creepiest parts of all of this, the ice cream shop stayed open. Yeah, I know there's not a lot to this case, but it was one of the craziest I've ever heard of, and just insane, and totally just seems like the back of a novel or a short little movie, and so I had to share it with you guys. I think that Estibaliz was a very manipulative person, and I think any sympathy that she showed was all for show. And I think that kind of tells a lot about her personality, and in the book it kind of shows that as well, because she writes in a fiction format. I've read some pieces that are just they're very dramatic, and almost like she's writing it as though it's a story and not her own life. And I just think she's a little delusional, a little crazy, and it scares me, the fact that she possibly talked her way out of one prison to another. Let's just hope she never talks her way out of prison altogether. And if so, men, run. Do not get near this girl. Stay safe out there. But anyways, if you have more information on this case, please leave it down below. I tried my hardest to find it, but for it being so well covered in the media, there wasn't many articles about it, and I couldn't really find much. I couldn't find her full book. And so yeah, I just kind of went off what I could find, but I still thought it was a good story to tell. And let me know down below if you believe that she was sympathetic towards what she had done after she had her son, if it changed her, if it could have changed her, or if she was the same old killer all along. I love your support, and comments down below make me so happy too. I love interacting with you guys. So yeah, don't ever forget to speak up. Your voice is powerful enough, and I love you to absolute pieces. Okay. Bye. Ice cream is sweet until it does damage to the body.